The story. Chapter 1. The Man Who Knew the Answer. There was a time when the traveler believed he understood life. Not in the way of poets or philosophers. No, his certainty was sharper than that. Cleaner. He believed meaning was something to be found, like a hidden path in the woods or a coin buried beneath the soil. If one simply searched long enough, asked the right questions, and refused to be distracted by lesser ideas, the answer would reveal itself. And once found, it would not change. That belief carried him far from where he began. No one remembered exactly where he came from, and if they asked, he would only smile in a way that suggested the answer didn't matter. What mattered was where he was going. He traveled light. No heavy packs, no books, no keepsakes. He said such things only tied a person to yesterday, and yesterday had nothing new to teach. I am looking for the truth of it, he once told a man at the edge of a forest. The truth of what? The man asked. The traveler didn't hesitate. Why, we are here. The man had laughed softly, not in mockery, but in a way that carried something older than humor. If you find it, the man said, you'll be the first. The traveler had taken that as encouragement. His path led him upward, into a range of mountains that seemed to rise beyond reason. The air thinned as he climbed, and the world below shrank into something quieter, less certain. Villages became specks, rivers became threads of silver. The noise of life, the kind that fills markets and homes, fell away until there was only wind, stone, and the steady rhythm of his own breath. It was there, high among the peaks, that he found the first group. They had built their dwellings along the ridges, where the sky felt close enough to touch. Their structures were simple, but deliberate, arranged in patterns that made little sense from the ground, but revealed themselves from above. Circles within circles, lines that pointed toward the horizon. At night, they gathered without fire. They did not need it. The sky provided more than enough light. The traveler watched them, at first from a distance. They moved with a kind of quiet intention, speaking little, often pausing to look upward as though listening for something just beyond hearing. Eventually, one of them approached him. She was older, though not in a way that suggested weakness. There was strength in her posture, clarity in her gaze. When she spoke, it was without hesitation. "You've come a long way," she said. "I'm searching," the traveler replied. "For what?" He gave the same answer he always had. The truth of why we're here. She studied him for a moment, not judging, not dismissing, simply observing. Then she nodded. "Then you should stay," she said, "at least for a little while." Days passed, or what he believed were days. Time in the mountains did not move the way it did below. The sun rose and fell, yes, but the rhythm of life here followed something else entirely. The people marked their moments not by hours, but by patterns in the sky. The shifting of stars, the quiet drift of constellations across the darkness. They believed everything was written above them, not in words, but in movement. The sky is not random. the woman explained one night as they stood along the ridge. "It is a map, not of where we are, but of where we are going." The traveler frowned slightly. "You mean fate?" She tilted her head. "You say that like it is a small thing. I say it like it removes choice," he replied. "If everything is already written, then what are we doing here?" She did not answer right away. Instead, she gestured upward. "Do you see that line of stars?" she asked. He followed her gaze. A faint curve stretched across the sky, barely visible unless you knew where to look. "Yes." "Follow it," she said. He did, tracing it from one point to the next, until it disappeared beyond the horizon. "What does it mean?" he asked. She smiled, not because she knew something he didn't, but because he had asked the wrong question. "It means something," she said, "but not everything." He stayed longer than he intended. At first, it was curiosity. Then it became something else, something quieter. He began to notice the patterns they spoke of. Not clearly, not in the way they did, but enough to feel the pull of it. Enough to wonder if perhaps there was something larger at work than he had allowed himself to believe. And yet, it unsettled him. If meaning came from something written beyond him, something vast and unreachable, then what was left for him to discover? What was the point of searching if the answer had already been decided? One night, as the others gathered to watch the sky, he stood apart. The woman found him there. "You are restless," she said. "I am thinking." "That can be the same thing." He looked at her, frustration flickering beneath the surface. "You believe everything is guided," he said, "that there is a pattern to all of this." "Yes." "And that gives you peace?" "It gives me direction." He shook his head. "It feels like surrender." For the first time, her expression changed, just slightly. "Or," she said gently, "it feels like you're afraid that you are not the one in control." That stayed with him, not as an answer, but as something unfinished. When he finally chose to leave, there was no ceremony, no farewell gathering. The people simply acknowledged it the way they acknowledged everything else, with quiet understanding. The woman walked with him to the edge of the ridge. "You didn't find what you were looking for," she said. He hesitated. "No," he admitted, "but I found something." She nodded. "That's how it begins." As he descended the mountain, the air grew thicker, warmer. The world returned in pieces. The distant sound of voices, the movement of water, the faint scent of fire carried on the wind. It felt like he had been gone longer than he expected. Much longer. But he could not say why. By the time he reached the valley below, the path he had taken no longer looked the same. Not completely. And for the first time since he began his journey, the traveler felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not doubt, not yet, but something close enough that he could no longer ignore it. End of Chapter 1.